Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the next panel discussion on consumer healthcare. You've heard through the day how new channels like quick commerce and what we just heard, how new consumer cohorts are creating opportunities for startups. The third vector in this growth we're seeing is the new categories the consumers are seeking. And one of the categories we've seen, watched closely, invested, and really seen early success is consumer healthcare. Over the next few minutes, what we're going to do is discuss how some of the companies in the portfolio are leveraging very deep-rooted product innovation and interesting choices in the business models to create large outcomes in the consumer healthcare space. Because really, what we're seeing is it's just not about hospitals and doctors alone, but today's consumer really wants to take charge of their health in their own hands, be it wearables, be it a programmatic approach to the product consumption, be it telehealth. We're seeing it across. What we'll do is we'll start with a few videos where it'll be a sneak peek into what each of these companies are doing before I invite my panelists for the discussion. Can I have the videos, please?
Hi everyone, I am Saloni Anand, co-founder here at Traya. We are a science-backed, holistic, efficacy-focused solution for one of the most common lifestyle-triggered problem, hair loss. Well, Traya's customer is anybody suffering through hair loss. Traya's customer is also a CEO, executive sitting here in Mumbai, BKC, to a mechanic sitting in Jaunpur. Traya really cuts through various segments. Traya stands for honesty, trust, transparency, but above all, science and efficacy. This year, we completed a 2-year-long clinical trial that proves that Traya's customized kit can deliver 3x better hair growth results than minoxidil 5%, a gold standard for regrowth in genetic hair loss. Fireside and Traya joined hands when we were doing about 60 lakhs monthly revenue run rate. Today we are doing 34 crore. Altaf and I started this company with a very clear purpose, something that can really solve for hair loss.
Hi, I'm Ayush.
And I'm Varun.
We both are the co-founders of Inito. At Inito, our vision is to empower everyone to achieve their health goals by testing their biomarkers in blood, urine, saliva, or any other biological fluid, right at the comfort of their home.
We launched our first test, an at-home fertility tracker, in 2021 in the US. Within 3 years, about 1% of the babies born in the US are because of Inito.
So at any point, there are about 4 million plus women who are trying to conceive. But in the entire country, there are only 500 fertility clinics. In fact, there are some states in the US with no fertility clinics at all.
That's where Inito comes in. We help you get unique insights, personalized to your body and condition, which the healthcare system fails to provide. With Inito, you can move ahead with confidence, you don't pay a hefty price tag, or you don't have to wait a long time.
We have grown by 22 times in the last 3 years and are already at a 20 million plus revenue run rate. In fact, Inito is the highest rated fertility test in the world today, and we are proud to have built it from India.
Inito has the world's largest fertility hormone dataset.
We have partnered with over 150 KOLs. These could be practitioners, embryologists, fertility coaches, or even users who are trying to conceive.
Our vision is to build a platform for every home so that families can take dozens of tests from testosterone, cortisol, vitamin D, so on a single device.
We believe that measuring continuous data is the only way to move from reactive to proactive healthcare, and we are very excited to unveil what's next.
Hi, my name is Keshav Biyani and I'm the co-founder of The Good Bug.
When we started this company and we started to speak about the brand, people didn't know what gut health was. But today, over the last 2 years, The Good Bug has become the leader in probiotics.
We've focused on 2 core categories. One is around digestive health. One core new product that we got to the market was Gut Cleanse, which is something that really took off from the time we launched it. I'm proud to say that we've, over the last 2 years, impacted more than 7 to 8 lakh lives in the country through our products and our offerings, and we closed FY 23-24 at around 45 crores in revenue. This year, we're closing at more than 90 crores.
Be it people suffering from issues like bloating or IBS, or even people who have been obese. I think it's incredible the change that this science have brought to their lives. Two core problems that we want to chase and build on is one, of course, is the entire metabolic health or the weight management piece that today contributes to almost about 45-50% of our business. So that's one large piece for us, and the other being digestive health. Today, the good bug is synonymous with the idea of gut health.
Vishal, Dr. Arthi and I started Gynoveda in the year 2019 with a dream to solve the health problems that women face from puberty to menopause. And Ayurveda showed us the way to do just that. So with the help of this Vedic medicine system, we innovated powerful pills that are convenient to consume, accessible anywhere in the world, and affordable by even the grassroots population that lives beyond metro cities.
It is because of this strong product promise, Gynoveda revenue is rapidly growing. We have tripled our top line year after year to reach close to 100 crores turnover. And we are experiencing tremendous momentum to sustain this growth rate. Every time we ask our consumers, how do you define Gynoveda? And they say, it works. And when the product works, customers are willing to pay better. They stick around with the brand longer. Since the year 2019, Gynoveda has made an impact in lives of 3 lakh women residing in 9,000 pin codes of India. And in the next 3 years, we will change lives of more than 1 million women, which will make Gynoveda India's largest period health company.
Great, thanks for joining in. I think what we could do is possibly split this conversation into two levers, what we've seen work out in some of your companies, both in terms of product innovation as well as the business model choices you've made. Starting off more on the innovation front, maybe I could start with you, Saloni. What key elements went behind the innovation engine of Traya, specifically catering to a very different set of consumer cohorts while keeping hyper-personalization at the core of it?
Right. So I think when it comes to innovation, the first thing is to provide an environment where innovation can happen. For Traya, how it worked for us is one, focus on the consumer and not look at what the competitor set is doing. So it's deeply ingrained into our culture where we don't like to see what others is doing and just listen to your consumer. Followed by a culture to really question things. Why is a certain thing done in a certain way, and is there a different way of doing it? Followed by a lot of experimentation and data to really show you the path to what is the right way of doing things. That combined with not having a baggage of coming from the hair care industry really helped us look at this problem from a very fresh lens of efficacy at the center point and not just selling products. Coming down to the hyper-personalization piece, very early on in Traya, we realized that the ambition is not just to personalize a cohort of users, but how can the customer journey for every single consumer be unique? And we realized the only way to do so is to have very good tech and data in-house. So 4 years ago, when we got our first seed funding, we started investing in that. So today at Traya, we sit with the intelligence we have it within in-house, where we know everything that the consumer is doing, from not just their health data, but things like they opened the app and shut it, they uploaded a scalp picture, they spoke to a hair coach, and what was the sentiment of that conversation. They got a WhatsApp message, they read it, but they did not click it. All of this is flowing into our system, and we've built, and now we have data of 10 lakh plus Indians doing all of these 1,000 data points each into our system, we've built something called the consumer score. And we predict the likability of this consumer to move to the next month. This score is the spine of our personalized customer journey. And through experimentation, we've figured what is the best intervention and at what time it needs to come in the customer journey. To give you an example, every time a customer uploads his photograph of his head in our app, and if a coach sends a message within 24 hours of that, it improves the score by 60%, improving retention drastically. So I think the idea is not to make just cohorts and send some personalized messages, but really how do we get to a point where each consumer has a very personalized journey.
Aish, coming to you, you've developed, of course, a very interesting DIY fertility monitor, and that's running on back of a patented technology. Could you give us a sneak peek into the development process, especially navigating the challenges of supply chain and the regulatory environment? What really went behind developing such a path-breaking technology?
Thanks, Ankur. So we started Inito to build everything a consumer would need at home with fertility testing the starting point, right? So whenever we look at, let's say, building something new, we are thinking about the market, and the second part is like, does the technology exist, or how mature is the technology for doing something like that? And the third is regulatory pathway. So today, most of our revenue is US, like you know. So when we are thinking about market, we are thinking about things like how quickly the consumers adopt it. Is there going to be recurring revenue? Because we think it's impossible to build a one-time per sale business. So if you're selling a product that is like $100, $150 in the US, you can never make money. So we think about how frequently consumers will use it. And building a new product for us is such a big exercise that if we don't believe that a product will get to 100 million revenue in the next few years, we actually don't build it. So basically I'm saying we don't take market risk at all. So first we would kind of rank the things we want to build with market, and then just remove things that we don't believe fit that lens. Now the kind of game is between how mature is the tech for certain things and what is the regulatory pathway going to look like. And I'll give you an example. Things like monitoring pregnancy progression is a regulatorily complex problem, but the technology can be, we have more control on the technology today. But things like testosterone, we have figured ways to kind of shortcut the regulatory pathway, and then we are investing more in technology. So we like to take one bet at a time. So market is like the filter. If it doesn't meet the market criteria, we don't attempt to build it. And then we like to take at this stage one complexity at a time. There'll be time where we'll build things like insulin, which are both regulatorily as well as technologically more complex. But I think there'll be a time to it. We'll be a much bigger organization by then. So at this point, that's kind of our process, right? And then once we commit to something, we go to any length in building technology. Another point on regulatory, the right point to take regulatory opinion in our business like us when you are thinking what to build. Because without that, you'll not be able to prioritize what to build, because regulatory is a huge barrier in a company like us. Same thing with supply chain. We don't think that supply chain is a point that you build the product and then scale supply chain. You need to bake those things while building the product, right? Many times your supply chain is problematic because of the design choices you took while building the product, right? So we like to think about these things early on rather than later, because we know that when we build something, it's going to be a multi-year exercise. But once we build it, we expect it to kind of get to 100 million revenue very, very quickly.
Coming to you, Keshav, your audience transcends across consumers who are symptom aware or some who are really looking for a gut health solution. How do you translate these insights back into your NPD engine to stay ahead of the curve and deliver to the consumer promise?
Oh, sure, Ankur. So at the core of what we're doing at The Good Bug is we're using probiotic science, gut bacterial science to go after inherent problems that exist in India, problems like digestion related issues, so acidity, gas, indigestion, bloating, weight, obesity, and so on and so forth, and really sort of building more deep-rooted solutions for these problems, because the market so far has always been driven around symptomatic treatments, right? So if I have any of these issues, I'll take a symptomatic treatment, I'll solve the problem at that moment in time, but I get stuck in this cycle of continuously dealing with it. So we've spent a lot of time in deep science, a lot of investments on the R&D side to see how we can use gut microbiome science to build deep-rooted solutions to some of these issues, right? So that's what we've been doing, and over the last 2 years, I think we've really saw tangible health outcomes come out, with consumers who are consistently using our products, and that's what sort of made us now go in and invest in full-fledged pharma-grade clinical trials, right? And at the core of innovation now, we use clinical trials to back every single product that we are sort of putting into the market. And these are, randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled, multi-center, large number of subject-led trials where we're, partnering with research organizations like IDA, IMA, renowned doctors, who come in as principal investigators on the trial, to really build strong moats around our formulas and continuously see how we can improve efficacy year after year. So at the heart of innovation, sits, this efficacy-led approach for us, which is validated and backed clinically, and that's essentially what we've been sort of working on and focusing on. And, I'm proud to say over the last, year and a half, we've seen very, very promising data come out through our trials, and we're now sort of continuously building on that.
Just extending your point on the whole efficacy, coming to you, Rachna, you took a very unconventional route in Ayurveda to solve for a complex issue like fertility. How did you go about innovating the product, more importantly also establish trust not only with the brand but the form of science with these kind of consumers?
So I think all of us here, have spoken about efficacy being the cornerstone, and I think that holds true not just for healthcare but for any founder who's starting a brand. But specifically, I think in healthcare, and more so in case of Gynoveda, it's a very outcome-focused solution. So in our case, actually, the bar was set even higher, right? Given the fact that we started the brand with an impact-first philosophy, and the why behind the brand is to make a difference in the lives of people. I mean, that stays throughout the board. But I think given the fact that two challenges. One, we were building a category. Ayurveda for menstrual and reproductive health did not exist. And so the onus was on us to do a lot of education, create awareness, have thought leadership content brought out so that people understand, why Ayurveda. And even though I think, it's going to take us a long time to make Ayurveda as the first choice, but I think the journey has well started. So keeping in mind the outcome focused, I think, we are building for Bharat. And the Bharat audience has two things that they need. One, value for money. And second is, do we take a guarantee that it's going to give results? That's one of the questions that we get asked across the board. And so I think that kind of nudged us to even take a step higher in terms of how do we bring the products together. And if you look at the landscape of fertility, there are multiple reasons which cause infertility, right? There is PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, low AMH, tubal blockage. There's something called as unexplained infertility, multiple factors. So how do we provide for these micro segments, keeping the authenticity of Ayurveda intact? And that's where our age-old scripture of Charak Samhita, and Saloni will agree with me that there are some fabulous methods and herbs mentioned in there. So we kept the authenticity intact. We just modernized the entire processing methodology and made sure that we give authentic, affordable Ayurveda to women for menstrual health and to couples for infertility.
Great. Just switching gears from innovation now to very interesting business model choices each one of you have made to create competitive advantage in each of your areas. We'll start with Saloni. At Traya, you've established a very strong regime compliance with a good combination of not only very innovative products, but a very program-led approach. What does it do to eventually the growth equation in terms of making it self-sustainable over a long term?
I think the math is very simple, right? In any month, if your total revenue, only 20% of it is, say, coming from acquisition and 80% is coming from, customers who are organically coming back on their own and buying their next month kit, the P&L beautifully turns green. The question is, how do we do it, right? Fortunately for us, since the purpose of existence was efficacy, since the beginning, the North Star has been how many people who start Traya actually see a positive result. We realize that with our formulations, it takes time to see results. It's a 5-month process to really bring them to a finish line where they start seeing positive results. And once they do that, sticking to the regime gets easier. But the first 5 months, there's absolutely no instant gratification in this model. When we realize that retention is the most important metric that we need to chase. And I think the first thing is to have a change in that attitude, right? Like as D2C founders, imagine what all we do to crack acquisition and new growth, right? The amount of money we spend on marketing, advertising. Young brands are going out and setting up stores and going omni-channel to grow acquisition. What do we do for retention? So at Traya, there's this joke, or rather a dialogue that's used again and again, that we can actually afford to sit on a bike, reach the consumer's doorstep every morning, knock the door, and say, did you take your Traya regime today? And the impact on LTV will make this affordable. Of course, it's a joke and it's creepy, but it exaggerates and puts the right attitude to the extent you can go as an organization to crack retention. And I think that focus led us to sort of course, it's work in progress and we're hoping to improve this number as we grow, but that's one of the core reasons that helped us turn green.
Coming to you, Rachna, you started with a very interesting digital clinic model and then evolved into a very fast and rapidly growing network of physical clinics. How has that changed your interaction with the consumers, and especially the Bharat cohort you spoke about, in terms of getting closer to the consumers?
So when we started Gynoveda in 2020, I think we took upon ourselves a very difficult task of actually treating one of the most, I would say, large disorders that women face, which is PCOS. And it was unheard of to say that PCOS can be treated. Because everything that women until then were given to understand that PCOS has to be managed. And this is something that you will have to live with for the rest of your life. And here comes a brand who then goes out there and puts its neck out and makes a claim saying PCOS can be treated. So for us, it was very, very important to ensure that, like Saloni said, one, they stay on the regime. So it takes anywhere between 4 months to 8 months, depending on the intensity or the chronicity of the problem. But the amazing part about when we were trying to solve for PCOS and where we had started seeing amazing results was fertility branched out to be a superhero. And this was least expected because, we were trying to get women completely recovered from PCOS. And then we saw women with PCOS who were wanting to conceive. They conceived with our medicines. And that's what gave birth, literally, to the fertility segment. But when it came to fertility, the online model started to show cracks. And that's actually, if you see even in the AV that happened, it's the 2020 to the 2023 story. And I think as founders, we had to take this very critical but a right decision saying that, do we continue to fool ourselves with just being digital first, because we started in the era of COVID and it made sense at that point of time to be digital first, or listen to what your consumer has to say. And trust me, there is no one better to advise you on what your business model should be or what your product should be than your consumer. So I think truly we listened to our consumer. In our parlance, consumer is the queen. given the world that we belong to. And so truly listened to the consumer, the community and the narratives that came out. And everywhere women were saying, when we were doing webinars, Dr. Aarti, who is our third co-founder, and I, when we used to do webinars, we used to have about 500, 600 women attending the webinars from about 500 pin codes of India. And the only question that got thrown to us was, "Aapka clinic kidhar hai? Where can we come and meet you?" And I think contrary to what we were told, saying that, it's the rise of D2C, I think thankfully we've always had a healthcare DNA. And I think Kawal has been the one who's always said, go listen to what is right for your consumer and your business. So literally took a leap of faith in October 23. Didn't have too much of data to support it. I think listened to our inner voice. Started our first clinic in Malad West in Mumbai. Did a solid POC for 6 months, undivided focus and attention on two things. One, outcomes. Second, profitable. And I think once that, channel fitment, product market channel fit was done, then there was no stopping us back. So the business model has now completely changed, keeping in line what we are building for Bharat as the world's first Ayurveda chain of fertility and gynac clinics. At this point of time, as we speak, we are 31 clinics present across different states: Mumbai, Delhi, Nagpur, Pune, Kanpur, Lucknow, different parts of Punjab. And the intent is wherever there is a woman who needs treatment, and if Gynoveda can be accessible there is no reason why we shouldn't be present. So yes, the business model has changed, and super bullish about what the future holds for us.
Coming to you, Keshav, in a category where the starting point and the end outcome a consumer could be expecting from a brand like yours could be very, very different. Moreover, the lifestyle choices these consumers are making as they consume your product. Of course, there is high efficacy, there's clinical trial to back that. How do you set right expectations with the consumers and then almost handhold them in the journey to get them to an eventual outcome on a consistent basis?
Oh, absolutely, Ankur. I think expectation setting, for all of us here is the single most important thing to sort of execute well when sort of speaking to our consumers. And I think that's been at the heart of what we're doing. So we've sort of obviously set up a service team on top of the product business, which works with our customers pre-purchase, post-purchase. Various journeys have set in. But even on the product side, I think why our solutions, I would say, typically work better and help with better retention rates are, we are not a multivitamin, because typically with multivitamins, you'll take it, you'll use it for a period of time, but you won't know if it's working, not working until you do your blood tests, you see your sort of markers, if it's gone up and down, then you sort of realize if it's sort of made a difference. And in India, consumers are yet not evolved to that extent to continue with such regimens without seeing tangible outcomes. I think with probiotics and with gut bacterial solutions, what's great and what we've been able to do is really start giving early signs to customers, right? So within the first 2 to 3 weeks of customers consuming our products, they'll start seeing first signs of, let's say, their bowel movements changing, them feeling lighter, with Metabolically Lean, which is our flagship weight management product, an impact on sugar cravings kicking in. And that's what sort of really incentivizes the customer to be at it. And with obviously an added service layer on top of that and setting the right expectation, it's a new category where it is category creation, it is education, awareness, through content, through comms. How do we continuously build that and execute well on that to ensure people stay the course, with reasonable diet and lifestyle measures to really start seeing a difference. And that's essentially how it's been played out, right? So for us also as a company and a brand, we've grown a lot by word of mouth, right? So a customer used it, saw results, got their family to use it, got their friends to use it, and so on and so forth. And that's how we've sort of really organically been able to grow so quickly in a short period of time. And obviously we've been doing a lot of education, awareness work around the category of gut health. Globally, gut health is at a cusp, which is really opening up, because with lot of investments around R&D, lot of investments around gut microbiome science, even in the expert fraternity, doctor fraternity, gastro fraternity. The gut microbiome is now an organ because people have started to understand the impact it can have not only on digestive issues but metabolic health, obesity, gynecological health, cognition, gut brain, how that sort of links and connects. Right? So that is really opening up, and I think we're at the right cusp of, leading and pioneering this category in the Indian market today.
And once the consumers have bought your fertility monitors, they will test hormones as and when they feel the need to, and it's a long conception journey. You spoke about having the world's largest women's health hormone data. What role do these insights really on back of this data play in terms of influencing the user behavior to a large extent? Because in a category like yours where you're creating category, so essentially also expanding the TAM for you eventually.
Yeah, so I think what Keshav said and some of the others said, right? We stitch this experience in an app for us, right? So you can take Inito tests only through the Inito app, which means that every time a user takes a test, that data is available. Now, as a company, we do only two things. We help you measure your hormones, and we help you understand what that means for us. And I'll take an example. So let's say there's a certain part of the menstrual cycle where you need to take tests to understand how close you are to menopause. Now, the app needs to tell you to take those tests and give you that insight, and only then the consumers will take tests at that point, right? So by stitching this insights into an app experience where the app tells you when to take a test, the app helps you take the test, and then we use AI to give that insight. That is the core driver of LTV. In fact, our software product teams own LTV in our company because it's the software experience that drives LTV for us, right? So we invest a lot on AI-based insights and stuff like that, right? Now, that's on the LTV side. And we all won't exist if there was no LTV, right? That's on the retention side, right? But also on the acquisition side, let's take the same example. If we can say that Inito can tell you how close you are to menopause, that's what you'll also advertise. When you advertise, that means that you are getting everyone who's worried if they are conceiving later in life and they may get closer to menopause, or how far am I. So that gives you the TAM expansion. So insights is core to what we do, both from an acquisition perspective, because your TAM is defined by the insights you give, and your LTV is completely determined by how these insights get you to take tests. You take tests to get insights, and that's what drives LTV.
Great. I think one of the big pillars we've commonly seen across all the four brands is how you've built and leveraged community. While we've seen many examples over years of how community has helped lifestyle brands being created, would love to deep dive into how each one of you are leveraging community to almost be the custodian of the brand, in the healthcare space. I think starting with you, Rachna, in terms of the Circle of Sisterhood, which is pretty much one of the largest women's health platform on Meta. What choices did you make early on in not only building but scaling up this community? And again, going back to the Bharat cohort, how do they relate to this community? Why do they come and engage with Gynoveda on this community?
So I think, as the name suggests, Ankur, Circle of Sisterhood, this community on Meta was started with a purpose of making it a very safe, online, non-judgmental, non-intrusive space for women to just talk about their problems, right? And early on in all my interactions with women consumers in my erstwhile avatar, when I used to lead women-centric teams, I realized that it's very easy for us to talk about our problems to strangers rather than somebody that we know, because there is this fear of being judged. And so essentially, to eliminate this fear of being judged and honestly go out there and seek help and support from experts, which is our doctors, is the ethos about building Circle of Sisterhood. Started with about 4 members, purely organic, never ran any kind of boost posts, promotions, no freebies, grew it organically with solid value addition about what to expect. Ayush spoke about the fact that how do women know they're coming closer to menopause? How do you track your ovulation when it's very important to fertility? So I think it started first about we giving a lot to the community. And when I say we, I'm talking about me, Dr. Aarti, our team. I think one thing that I was very particular about, and this was honestly a mandate, unspoken mandate, that we are never going to speak from the position of a founder, co-founder to the women. It's going to be women to women. So it's a community by women, for women, right? And I think we kind of put ourselves out there saying, what did I go through when, I became a mother 2 decades ago, when there was less information, less communities. In fact, there was nobody that we could really speak to apart from our gynacs for real technical help. And over a period of time, I realized that it's actually the Bharat women who stay in large families, who have a large social circle, yet find it extremely comfortable to come and discuss about their most intimate problems in this community. And I think by virtue of it, the beauty of what happened was today all our user testimonials since the last 5 years have been from what I call real women, real stories. Women who have consumed our medicines, whether they've seen a difference, they've not seen a difference. We bear it all. And in the community, there are no filters, right? We moderate it to some extent, but honestly, we also get beaten down when, like he said, it's going to take time to show results. So women expect results in 3 months, and then they think this medicine doesn't work. And they come out there and tell us this medicine is not working. So it was we who used to tell them what to expect, but now I think we've created advocates within the community, and those advocates respond to them. And the entire user testimonials comes from this community. So, I earnestly hope that we are the largest online community on Meta, on menstrual and reproductive health. We are a strong 150K members, all organic, and I hope that we continue to remain the largest and grow stronger and more richer in terms of engagement.
Just continuing on the fertility spectrum, Ayush, you've made a very interesting choice in going the in-app community way, right? It's a very highly engaging community meant for your existing users. What's really motivating you to go in that direction when a lot of platforms today have communities where women are already discussing fertility issues? And how do you see this shape up the growth for the brand in the future?
Yeah, actually our journey for the community was very different from Rachna's. Like, we actually didn't have to do much to create a community. In fact, our users created a community on Meta. And then we went to a user saying, hey, can you please give us admin rights to the community so that we can moderate it? So the user obliged and we got access. Now, our community is 25,000 members, but we got 600,000 comments last year, right? You understand the engagement rates. On a community of 25,000 members, we have a 40% weekly active rate. Now, this does not, and we have thought a lot about why does this happen? And our thinking is the following. Let's say if you had a community of just, let's say, pregnant mothers. After a while, virtually all questions you can think of will get answered in the community, and that's where the engagement tanks, right? So you will not see these kind of numbers. But our product, because it gives you the hormone charts that are unique to people, it naturally gives out content in the form of your trends of your hormones that people discuss about. So many of you would actually see a Traya community where people are just, where the product naturally gives out content that people can talk about. So we are lucky in that way that our product naturally gives out hormone charts which people can discuss the insights about. And so the content never stops, right? Like people will keep on getting their hormone charts every day, and that looks different. So there's more fodder to discuss about, and that loop continues, right? In fact, what we know that people in the community take 40% more tests in the first 2 cycles when they join the community than who are not. And today only a third of our users get on the Facebook group because some people are not comfortable sharing their private data on a Facebook group. Some people just don't want to be on Facebook and stuff like that, right? So that's why the motivation to bring the community from Meta to actually on our own app, so that one is that all the users can get advantage of the community. And the second thing is we can make personalized product, right? Like in that sense, in a community, you have a video, you have a post, but we want a post to have a hormone chart because that's what people are going to talk about, right? So that's why for us, the reason is LTV, in an immediate LTV NPS, right? That obviously goes higher. And as we also believe that as the community scales up, community can also become an acquisition engine for us via the app.
I mean, we heard of Facebook and the in-app community. So only at Traya, you've created a very interesting choice of platform you've taken as WhatsApp, right, across different set of users. How does the brand maintain very consistent language and conversation with these different set of users, while also respecting the fact that these groups have been created, keeping personalization at the heart of it?
Yeah, so I think a lot of experimentation around community, we realized, we got a very interesting insight that in the Traya world, the consumer who is on month 1 versus a consumer who's on month 5 versus the consumer who's on month 12, the needs, requirements, and the content completely changes. And putting all of them together in one community was just creating chaos. So our start point of community is a smaller community of people who start the treatment around the same time. So we have these 500 to 1,000 people communities, and then we move to the next community. And the moment we did that, we saw that there was similar engagement because they were all sailing through this journey together. On problems that you faced in the first month, results that you see on the 5th month. So there's sort of bonding and engagement because they are all in this together. Coming to your point of consistency, etc. Training, quality, putting metrics around it helps us sort of ensure that there is. But a lot of work that Traya has to do is only in communities that just start. We see that month 2 onwards, it's less Traya and more people putting their user-generated content and answering each other that, hey, I used this hack, I did this. So it's less ownership on Traya to contribute to content. But like Rachna said, sometimes you get a customer who sees result in his 3rd month and starts sharing his regrowth pictures, which is motivating for others. And sometimes you get beaten down on the same 3rd month by a consumer who says, it didn't work. So that's the nature of community, but overall we see that people who are a part of the community, and there are good 3 lakh consumers who are actively in the community now, show better retention than people who are not.
I think each one of them build their own communities. Keshav, you went hunting for a very large community which already existed through your brand collab with HRX recently. There was a community which existed, which had very deep connection with what Hrithik was doing in his life, and there were a big fan following. What common traits did you skim through in their community to almost leverage what's already existing and build a very large acquisition funnel for yourself in Goodbug?
So Hrithik honestly happened very organically. We were looking at a good sort of renowned personality to come and drive awareness of our solutions, and our agency sort of just managed to sort of speak to Hrithik, and he said, hey, I'm a consumer and I've seen very good results. My, I think, girlfriend or fiance now, Sabha, is on it, my mother is on it, and individually we never spoke about it. So we all sort of came into consuming your products separately, and I've seen very, very good results. Let's do something. So that's how the conversation started. And when we started sort of engaging deeply with him and with HRX, we realized that HRX is the most successful, I would say, celebrity-led brand in the country today. Right? They do about 900,000 crores in turnover, and he's obviously managed to resonate his personality very deeply into the brand, and sort of resonates fitness in everything that they do. And for Metabolically Lean, which is our weight management solution, we thought there is obviously an inherent sort of synergy that can get built in, where we sort of latch on to HRX's community and sort of leverage that and build from there. And that's how it sort of happened. So we, instead of doing a straight endorsement, we did a collaboration with HRX, and really sort of managed to sort of spread awareness in that community, and at large using him to spread awareness. But in consumer health,
Ankur, celebrities are great to sort of create awareness, but conversion only happens with sort of trust and credibility, and that sort of eventually happens if you can drive efficacy through your products. And one lever that also I think stitches that is time. I think time allows people to go through their own journeys, see solutions, peer reviews happen, and that's when sort of really that exponential growth curve sort of kicks in. So it's been about 4 months now. I think it's really helped us spread fantastic awareness, get more sort of people into the funnel. But yeah, it's still early days.
Thanks for sharing your story. I think what we've seen working very closely with each one of you is the interesting cusp of innovation and business model choices each one of you've made, and more importantly, with the way the consumers are opening their wallets in this category, makes us extremely bullish on consumer healthcare at large, and we continue to look for great founders building in this space. Thanks for sharing this story. Thank you. Thanks everyone.